Hi, Tanji Lee here, a leadership and mindset specialist for TMJ Coaching. I specialize in working with real estate leaders and teams, helping them realize their potential in the least amount of time. And it is my absolute honor to introduce you to a guy, if you don't know him already, who's in alignment with that. He is the founder and managing director for Real Estimations. They are leading brokers, valuers, and business success consultants whose number one priority is to work with real estate leaders and teams to ensure they have sustainable, successful, and profitable businesses, or make sure that the mergers and acquisitions that they're in the process of completing are done with great due diligence and great clarity for a wonderful result for all people included. So please give it up on high fives and drum roll for the founder and managing director of Real Estimations, my friend Mark Sinclair. Mark, g'day, how are you?
Good, Tanja, how are you going?
I'm fabulous, thank you. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. We love what you do. We've had the privilege of hearing you speak at a number of conferences and kickstarts, and when we were off air, you just said you just spoke yesterday at probably a Kickstart or an event that saw a really, really successful response. So well done. It's a that needs to be heard. So we're having this conversation because you and I know, as consultants to the real estate and property sector, there over the last 2 to 3 years has been a big change in the industry, in the market, which has seen some businesses fail, some businesses close, and many, many, many thousands of businesses struggle. So tell us a little bit about, in your experience, you've had the business since 2012.
Yes.
How have you seen the market change in that time? What's been the biggest change?
The biggest change we've seen is that so many businesses have never worked in a bad market. So they've had a fantastic run for 7 or 8 years, living in a land of milk and honey, thinking it's never going to come to an end, and they've never been through a bad market. So as a consequence, when the brakes went on, they went over the top of the skateboard and they got some serious damage. And as you correctly point out, so many of them have never known how to run a business, and they're doing this, and it's a tough gig. It's a tough gig when those things happen. So they come to us.
And so what do they come to you for?
Invariably, they come to us at the wrong time of the business cycle. They come to us when they realise they're in financial duress, or the bank's on their back, they've run out of enthusiasm, they're stressed, they're strained, and that's really like saying, I'm the seller of last resort, you're the agent, help me out. And that's really sad. Whereas people that are really proactive and understand what they should be doing in trying to run a business, they engage us over a period of 2 or 3 or 4 years to help them structure a proper business. And we've got some great success stories of people that use our services for those reasons.
Awesome. Well, that's what we know you to do. And I love what you said there. Unfortunately, some people are coming to you when they're at the worst end of the spectrum of business, when all of those things could have been prevented. Even in times where the market is tough and changing, there are things that you can do to prevent and sustain, torrential conditions. So the intention of this video is to really create and share some valuable content for business owners out there and unpack the top 3 financial mistakes that real estate directors or principals or business owners are making today, impacts of those, and the recommendations that you would make. Because what we know is there's been 17,000 real estate agents leave the industry since the end of 2017. Now, Mark, you and I know in some cases that's not a bad thing.
That's right.
A lot of those agents, not business owners, thought that real estate was going to be quick buck, nice car, fancy suit, shiny watch, make money, and then they enter it and they go, wow, this is harder than I thought. You got to generate everything. So that's not a bad thing. Good opportunity for those amazing operators that do great ethical work and positively change people's lives and have the back end support to do that. So we've seen a lot of businesses struggle over those years, and you would have seen it since 2012.
Yes.
Can you share with us what are the top Oh, that's what else I was going to say.
Yeah.
In research that I did with Kylie Davis and the team at CoreLogic RP Data across the 6 empowered leadership practices, the one practice that most real estate principals do not practice is evaluating their business. So preparing for success and evaluating their performance and knowing what to do. Hence, they're coming to you at the end of the spectrum, struggling and stuck and stressed, right?
Spot on. Spot on.
We also know that 76% of the real estate industry in Australia and New Zealand are not making money,
Correct.
are flatlining or sadly declining. And here's what I find fascinating, and here's where you really kick in. 23% of the real estate industry in Australia and New Zealand are seeing marginal growth or some growth above 10%, and the fundamental differentiator is leadership. They have leadership skills, they've got an MBA or some kind of leadership training or business strategy training. So in your experience, so it's a real issue. This is not some businesses are struggling. Only 23%. Now, this was 2 years ago. I would say it would be less now. Our research is showing 23% are making any 10% plus revenue. We're not talking profit. That's a whole other conversation we're passionate about. So it's a real problem because real people with real lives, real health and well-being are really struggling. And there is a handful that aren't. So let's talk about the majority. What are the top 3 financial mistakes that real estate business owners are making today? What are the impacts, and what are you telling them they need to do?
The top 3 mistakes are simply this. They focus on sales turnover. They think that increasing sales revenue will be the panacea to their financial problem. That's the number 1 problem. The second problem is they don't understand the numbers inside their business. They don't know the difference between a profit point and a break-even point. They don't know what it costs to run their sales department, and they don't know what it costs to run their property management department. They have no real idea. And the third one is an interesting one. There's too much pride for them to put their hand up and say, Tanja, can you recommend a coach or someone who come into my business and work with me every quarter and show me what I'm doing wrong? And those people that have lowered their pride, put their ego to one side and said, Mark, can we have a coffee? I need your help and advice. Now, sometimes those people are not the people that are broken and ready to fall out the door. I was having coffee with a client today that we've been working with for 4 years, and that guy is absolutely flying because he focuses on his culture, he focuses on his team, he focuses on system, and he focuses on profit.
Gotcha. And we know that most real estate business owners were once an agent working for ABC Realty. They wanted to see their name on the office, so they wanted to run their own business. They felt that they could do it better, and they take that courageous step, and good on them, of getting the office space, designing the layout, getting the tables, the chairs, the CRM system, as I've said before, and then they get these things called people and have no idea, with respects to them, if they've never had that leadership opportunity or the skills developed. And then they've just got themselves an expensive job, and they're also the main breadwinner. So they're on the tools, then with no management or leadership skills. And what I see as a leadership coach is they are focused on just sales or breaking even, but they don't even know what those break-even points are. So let's break down these top 3 problems or challenges or mistakes. So number 1, you say they focus on sales turnover. Well, most businesses do. They've got the whiteboards, they've got their targets, they're saying prospect, prospect, prospect. Why is that the biggest mistake?
Because they don't understand the correlation between turnover, operating cost, and what's left in the till at the end of the month.
Yes.
I think that the more that they go out there and let a box drop or whatever prospecting is being done, and anticipating that revenue is going to increase by turnover, that's going to fix all the problems. Now, that's exactly what everybody did up to 2017. But everybody realised that they don't. It's a bit of a trendy expression, but it's a sensitivity analysis. Very few businesses sit down and go, okay, this is where we're at. What happens if the market stops? Where are we going to be? Or if it slows down 25%? what happens to my business? Will I lose my new Porsche that I've just leased? And I've done a valuation on a business where that's exactly happened. What happens is they just think that increasing turnover is the panacea to profit, and it isn't. It is not, because if they know if they've done the numbers and know that by increasing revenue by X, it will add Y to the bottom line. But just increasing gross turnover for the sake of increasing the bottom line never works. I mean, you don't find that BHP is ripping iron ore out of the ground and it's costing them only $15 a tonne, and they're selling it for 90. Well, they would do their numbers knowing that if they increased it from 15 to 20, what does that do to the bottom line? And our industry's never done that.
No.
We've never, as an industry, we've never focused on showing people, hey, guess what? You're running a business. You just happen to sell real estate. Nothing wrong. Do it and do it well. But get people in that can help you. Park your ego and focus on making money, not turnover.
Yeah, well, I think people don't know what they don't know, right? So they've taken that courageous step. They've gone and become a franchisee, or they've gone out independently. They're willing to wear the responsibility of having to break even every month, despite what their sales agent's performance is and despite what their market conditions are. So to be honest, hats off and high five to every principal out there, because that responsibility is big. And the third point of pride getting in the way of success, I would absolutely agree with that. As a peak performance coach, Mark, one of the things I have the privilege to see is the emotional landscape of leaders that are dealing with this as a reality. And I have to agree, pride can get in the way. And ego can get in the way in very unhealthy ways, because if they're part of a franchise, they often don't want to speak to their colleagues because that's seen as internal competition, and they don't want to let people know they're struggling or failing. They don't feel like they can go to the franchisor because they don't really have a great relationship, or some tend to blame the franchisor for a lack of support why they don't have their success. They don't want to tell their partners or families because they're already a burden, because they're hardly home and missing Johnny's soccer or Betty's ballet lessons, and they're working 6-7 days a week. So they don't want to burden the wife or the husband, because it's women in these positions too.
Absolutely.
They don't want to tell their mates at the pub or girlfriends at yoga because they don't want to burden them either. So the real psychological and physiological risk of this is, and I've dealt with clients who are highly stressed, completely unfulfilled, seeking substance abuse to numb the reality, and in some cases, Mark, suicidal. And that's the reality that I'm dealing with as a coach. So one, focusing on just making more money. Often, if you're not measuring your gross profit and the costs of sales and goods and sales, it costs you more money sometimes to make more money because you put on more resources or you print more DLs or whatever. So if you're just doing it to bring in more revenue, but you don't know what a healthy gross profit percentage is, you're working hard for little gain. And you see that all the time, right?
All the time. All the time.
Can I ask, from your perspective as the leading broker, valuer, and business success consultant for the industry in Australia, what is a healthy margin percentage? I know it's like how long's a piece of string. What would be a benchmark that leaders should be? I should be having X amount of percentage in profit in my business per month.
Great question, and not enough people actually ask that. It does depend to some extent geographically where you are in the country. In sales, you must, I know this is still a low number and you're going to be quite shocked, if you're making less than 15% out of sales, close the doors. 15 to 20% in sales is where you for the risk profile up to 25%, property management 35 to 40%. And we can tell pretty quickly if a business is doing that. And the reason why businesses have to start doing this is the way the banks are now looking at funding these things. The days of looking at revenue from property management as the sole barometer, that's gone. That's over. That's yesterday. They're now looking at, okay, how does Mark do this? How does Tanya do this? What are they like as business people? What do their accounts look like? How are they set up? Do they understand where their profit points are? Do they understand what the slippage rates are? What's their ATO like? What's their personal balance sheet like? Those are the factors that are so important now. Just go, I have a rent roll that generates $1 million a year. They're going to go, so what? So what? So does everyone else.
Yeah, yeah. And the
That's
reality
why,
is every single month, as I said before, despite your sales agent's performance, because you've got your fixed income from the asset of the rent roll, and then you've got your variable income, which is the sales team's performance, you can't keep blaming the weather or conditions. So
no,
you're saying that to minimize risk and to have some insurance in your sustainability, no guarantee, but a healthy position to be in is around 35-40% gross profit margin on your property management component of your business if you have one. And to be risk adverse, you really should be sitting around that 20-25% in your sales gross
yes,
profit. Okay, so the question is, if you're a principal out there, do you even know what your percentages are? Do you know what constitutes the expenses? Do you, and typically labor is the highest cost of any profit and loss statement. And this is what I love coaching around, is most business owners don't even know what kind of return on investment they're getting on their biggest expense item. And because they lack those leadership skills, they don't know how to get the most performance out of their people, which is what I coach on. And what you train and consult on is, let's practice what Stephen R. Covey taught in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. Habit number 2 is begin with the end in mind. Let's design your business to be geared to be most profitable first, and then you can have a bit of a benchmark of what should your expenses be every month and what do you need to let go of. Maybe you got to reduce the quality of paper. Maybe you need to have someone that's cheaper. Maybe you need to go offshore here, or maybe you need to go from a Tesla to a Corolla.
yeah,
Right?
spot that, and that's spot on. You know, at their presentation last week, we actually asked every one of those people. There were 54 franchise owners in the room, and I asked them, "Can anyone tell me what it costs you to run a property management per year?" Not one hand went up.
Mm,
That to me is really scary.
yeah.
So if you don't know what it costs you to run that part of your business, when it's such a simple thing to do, because everyone's charging off. And the best barometer of our industry, and I've dived to, is go onto Instagram. Everybody talks about the nice listing and we're having lunch and the team's doing this. That's all light and fluffy, and that's great social proof. But not enough of our industry balances the sales and property management. Do you know, and you can share this quite openly, our business has sold 199 real estate agencies and rent rolls, which is a pretty good number.
Since
That's not
2012.
199.
Yeah, wow.
We've consulted and valued on over 500.
Yeah.
So we've got, and in that time, Tanja, we have sold 2 of those, only 2 on a multiple of earnings of profit.
Wow.
Out of
Ouch.
200.
Ouch. Well, I know it's scary, but for me, it's exciting because there's a real problem for us to solve and be of service to. And you and I are about to do some amazing stuff around that. Okay, so friends, that's the benchmark. Do you know how to read a profit and loss sheet? And 2, do you have absolute clarity? Otherwise, you're just going to have an expensive job that's going to cost you your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and financial sanity, relationship with your family and friends. And are you having fun? And are you benefiting, or are you just in debt and highly stressed out? And we don't want that. Mark and I don't want that for you. So do you have any clarity around what your gross profit earning is for property management and sales? Number 2, we're leading into the second biggest problem is they don't understand their break-even point and their profit in their business. So they're just focusing on prospect, sell, grow the rent roll, and then throwing extra resources in to get the growth. So the good news is they know how to grow some, but they don't know how to be sustainable and successful and profitable.
Correct.
Revenue growth is one measure, but is profitability growth is another one. And unfortunately, when things are good, people cash up. They lease new cars, they get a bigger office, they get more systems. But then when the conditions change, you still have those monthly fees to meet.
And there's pockets of the Sydney market that are just going crazy again, like it was 18 months ago. So they've forgotten what's happened, and they're just out there doing the same stuff. You know, I had a new client recommended to me the other day, and it was really refreshing. The guy's 32. He's bought a rent roll of 50 managements. He comes from a well-connected family. His parents are backing him not to do well to survive. He's engaging us to get him out of that business in 5 years' time. In 5 years' time, we're engaged to make sure he and that business are at a very, very attractive profit point in 5 years.
Does that mean he has an exit strategy in 5 years? He's planning to succeed in 5 years, done. And you're helping him reverse engineer a strategy to hit that goal. Thank you very much. See you later.
I'm out of here.
That's what business is, right?
Yeah. We buy it as a lifestyle. So yes, there's lots of stuff going on out there.
So the top 3 issues are: we focus on sales and revenue growth without knowing how it's actually affecting the back end. We don't even have awareness of what the gross profit percentage benchmarks should be for having a sustainable business that can mitigate risk when external conditions change. We don't understand how to measure our business and what even is our break-even point. And I would agree, when I ask that question, people don't know. Therefore, they don't know what decisions to make in their monthly trading because they don't know what it's going to affect and why that matters. And you're saying that the third issue that's a problem is we let our ego and our pride and our concern of what people think of us influence the decisions we make. And I would agree. I've coached many people that are highly stressed and broke on the inside, not just emotionally, but financially, overextended themselves with leases and a lifestyle they can't afford. And externally on Instagram, they look fabulous.
Yeah.
And you think that that's actually getting in the way of successful business operation and market share growth?
I think in some cases it is. I think that particularly the sub 40, 45, 40 see that Instagram is the new Facebook, which is the new LinkedIn. And there's this perception of, I think the Instagram's taken over the BMW and the 3-day growth and the pants, that sort of stuff. So you've got this social proof that, hey, we're doing this and we're this and we're this. And I think as an industry, we make a very bad mistake. There's some fantastic superstars out there, and I'm not blaming the superstars for their achievements, because let's face it, these men and women that are at that level are awesome and they deserve everything. But I think the problem with this is that you've got aspirational businesses and aspirational salespeople constantly looking at these superstars, and they've got no capacity in any way, shape or form of actually ever achieving that.
Sure.
And it actually can be quite soul destroying for some people. But
when
the guys and girls,
it's a very competitive industry. So many people are, driving their car but looking over the shoulder in their rear vision mirror and not really clear about their own personal journey and where they need to go. And then they hit a roundabout and it's
and if we can show and if we can start to get people to understand that it's okay to put your hand up and get someone in and work with them. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you need a lawyer, you need a lawyer. You need an accountant, you need an accountant. We're no different. We just think that we're different. We're no different. We actually go into a couple of businesses whereby you spoke earlier, it was really good about looking after the key people and culture. We've actually got a couple of businesses now where the senior PM in those businesses are on a KPI equity earning based on their performance.
Sure.
And whilst that's not new, it's not practiced enough.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. For those that haven't heard that term before, how would you kind of make that sound really simple?
Okay, the good people in your business that really have the business and the business owner's interests at heart, giving them some equity based on how well they do their job.
Yeah, so giving them a bonus, some more moolah, whether it's a bonus, whether it's actual profit share or equity share in the business structurally, so they have a greater buy-in that is governed by their performance being fulfilled, as in KPIs. Awesome. Because there's a lot of people, Mark, that actually don't speak in that corporate context in real estate that we're seeing. So we've got to kind of, keep the language real for people to understand, because they haven't heard this. Some haven't heard this before. So what are your top 3 tips? If a business is out there, we know many real estate businesses are struggling. They're struggling because, in your expert opinion, they're focused on revenue and not profit. 2, they don't understand the metrics and what needs to be evaluated and what the benchmark should be to mitigate risk and set them up for success. And 3, our pride and ego gets in the way. What are your 3 remedies to that people can immediately apply?
First of all, stop. Have no one in your room. Look in the mirror and go, you know what? I need some help to get this thing right. I'm really good at what I do. I'm great at selling. I'm great in property management, but I'm not very good at running the business. So guess what? I'm going to put my hand up. I'm going to find out who are the people, who are the businesses that I can turn to, that I can have a cup of coffee with and share some of my story.
Got it. So emotional intelligence. Stop, get awareness, ask for help. Number one. Number two.
Really understand as best you can, what are the parts in your business that do work well? What are the things that are working really well? And that will identify the things that aren't working well.
And how would they do that?
Sometimes if they've got an existentialist view, they could do it themselves. I'm telling you, get someone else in, get their accountant in, get their wife in, get their husband in, get their partner in, and get that person.
So an objective point of view. Do you know, in my experience, as I said, across those 6 empowered leadership practices, the 5th one being evaluate, most leaders don't evaluate and they don't know how. And the issue is they may have the intention, but because they're the primary revenue earner in most cases, they're too busy in the business to work on the business.
That's
And
right.
in my experience as a coach, those principals or directors or leaders that schedule time once a month out of home, out of office, in a hotel boardroom or a great cafe, and they actually take the time to deconstruct their business and see if they're achieving those KPIs or metrics that they set with a professional like you. If you don't do that, you're just a mouse in a wheel trying to just prospect. Because what I coach clients on is, like you, they're saying just get more revenue. I'm like the same thing. When leaders are telling their sales agents just prospect more, but they're not measuring the listing conversion rate of the agent in the living room or at the kitchen table, what's the point? You just spend the energy unsuccessfully.
Correct.
So reality check, shut the door, look in the mirror, have some emotional intelligence and be willing to ask for help. Number 2, do the work to understand your business, look at what is working and what's not, and take the appropriate steps. And what's number 3?
Is really understand your true financial position and when are you wanting to exit.
Right. And so that's a new thinking, because some people just love business and they're just like, it's who I am, it's my passion, it's my purpose, and I don't ever see myself leaving. Whereas true business, if you look at it from a business unemotional perspective, is true business is designed to make as much money in the least amount of time, so you can successfully sell and do something else that you love.
Spot on.
So you're saying understand the end game.
Absolutely.
Like, how much do you want to make in how much time, for what reason, or what's your why? Because business is a vehicle to achieve financial freedom. And I absolutely believe that real estate is one of the best ways to do it, because you can earn as much as you're willing to work for.
I've got a client at the moment, 2 guys that have had this business for 14 years. They started it with absolutely nothing 14 years ago. They came out of a business, they had the typical non-compete provisions, blah, blah, blah. One of them's just turned 48, one's turned 50. This business has got 500 commercial tenancies, 500 properties, 850 tenancies. And we sat down and had a coffee the other day and they said, mate, I'm 50, I'm 48. We've done really well. They said, we're not ready to sell. The business isn't in a position yet for you to sell it. What you're going to do is you're going to give us a whole strategic review, and then we're going to put everything in place, and then we're gone. And we want to be gone in 18 months. And I left there and I thought, those guys have got it right.
Yeah, 100%.
So, and they'll walk out with several $1 million each, regardless of what they've made. But we don't have enough people like that. Do you know that most people, I've got to tell you this, you'll love this.
Yeah.
People's succession planning in real estate, our experience in succession planning, we get a phone call. Hi, Mark. It's so-and-so from so-and-so. Look, can we catch up for a coffee? I want to sell my business.
Right.
Sure, not a problem. And you meet with them. I'm tired. I've got the bank on my back. Market's terrible. Wife won't let me borrow any more money. Or husband won't let me borrow any more money. I've got 150 managements. And Bartley's, sell up. I'm out of here.
I'm out of my career.
That's it. That's succession planning in Australian real estate.
I absolutely agree. I see it all the time. And, the thing for me and what helps drive me a lot like you, which is why we're so aligned, is I want to see people fulfill their potential.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I 100% believe that business is an amazing and creative and dynamic and innovative platform to be able to do that. And if you're willing to show up consistently and apply the energy, I believe one of the things that's missing is just the skill set and the strategic expert support to
Yeah.
have you achieve your goals by design, not by failing by default.
Spot
So
on.
I know that you are someone who is as dedicated to people achieving their personal and professional potential in real estate and property. How do we help people that are watching this, that are, navigating the terrain that we've unpacked already? How
Yeah.
can you help them? Because there are some businesses that are struggling that maybe can't afford your services. So is there an initial thing that they can do to test and
Absolutely.
analyze their business, to see, well, how much at risk are they, and how can we help them?
Look, that's a great question, and we do help people and deal with businesses like you across every spectrum. And there are people that are in a very tight financial position, which is not uncommon. We have a base package
Yeah.
which we can do for them, which gives them sufficient overview as to where their business lies. It is relatively basic, but it gives them some really good fundamentals. Sometimes, if people are very desperate, we have helped people out. Like you, we've had a couple of clients that have suicided because of business
Yeah.
stress, which is just horrific.
No,
Um, and one of the mantras inside our business is simply this: we don't want to see people go through pain and failure and stress and marriage and relationship breakdown and financial ruination because they don't know how to reach out and pick the phone up and say, "G'day, how you going?" and chat. And
yeah.
sometimes that's the beginning of what we can do to help them. Yes, we're a business like everybody else. We've got a website that we're very readily reachable. We're happy to take calls from people that, 20 minutes to have it free of charge and have a chat to see how we can help them out if they need help,
Yeah.
or can we help them?
I can say firsthand, you have helped a client of mine who was looking to sell their rent roll. You gave some really sound advice and supported them in being able to effectively negotiate a really good deal with the purchaser. So thank you for that. And so what is the website? So if people are watching this going, you know what, yeah, if I put my pride aside and my ego aside, I'm actually stressed. I have no idea what my profit and loss statement, I don't even know what that document looks like. I just pay my accountant and bookkeeper to handle it, and they'll call me when poo hits the fan. But I actually need to really put on my grown-up pants and get responsible. And what I would suggest as a peak performance coach is ostracizing yourself from reality and sticking your head in the sand, or going la 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 and hoping that things will just work out because you just bring in a bit more sales, is the fastest way to erode your personal power, because you're avoiding reality, and it will just elevate your stress. The best thing to do is what Mark has said, is look in the mirror, be willing to be vulnerable and courageous enough to go, you know what, I have no idea. I am pretending I'm all over this business. I'm going to put my pride aside and actually get some help. So what's the website where people can reach out to you and your team, Mark, and at least book in a no obligation conversation? Yeah, can they do that?
Absolutely.
Right. So what's your website?
Realestimations.com.au.
Easy. Realestimations.com.au will have that link available wherever we're posting this video. And if you were to share one thing for anyone listening that is stressed out, running their business, committed to succeeding, willing to show up and do the work and park their pride, what would it be?
It's great that you got the commitment. Put your hand up and talk to people like you and I. Because if they're going to show up and do it, they can't do it on their own. It's too hard. You can't be an island. It's too hard.
Yeah, ask for help. It takes a village. Yeah.
And too many people try and be that island, and they try to do the chest beating and be that person. And you know what? They're the ones that bring us up. Just quickly, we helped a guy out that's been a partner of one of the major big four commercial businesses. He's left and wanting to do something else on his own, and he's been headhunted all over Melbourne, blah, 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 blah. And he's got an ego that's rather healthy. And we sat down and we had a chat. And by the end of the conversation, we'd worked out what he was trying to achieve. He didn't have any ability to negotiate the terms of a contract. He didn't understand how to look at the profit and loss accounts of the business that he was going to be given equity in. He didn't know about their ATO liabilities. Didn't know about their PPS charges. So, and he said to me, we'll keep the language clean, but he said, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea that's the sort of stuff I need to know. And I go, mate, you're going to be an equity partner in a very big business. This is no different than you going and buying a great IGA or a car dealership or a fantastic restaurant. Everyone looks at it as turnover, office buildings, blocks of land, investment apartments, or stunning homes. That's what we do, and we get it wrong.
Yeah, on a daily basis. So your number one tip is ask for help. Put your ego and pride aside and reach out. And what I do know is, if anyone that is watching this, and I hope there's many of you that ring Mark, by the way, full transparency, I don't get a referral fee, I don't get a split, I don't get a cut, I don't get a cent if you contact Mark and the team at Real Estimations to have a conversation to help him strategize your business for growth, success, or the best sale possible. What I get is that you can go home at night, look your kids or your partner in the eye or yourself in the eye and go, I showed up today and did my best, and I'm proud of who I am. I'm not putting my team at risk, I'm not putting my family at risk, and I'm not putting my heart and my health at risk. That's the best I could ever get. So I encourage you, if you're struggling, if you're stuck, if you know you're leading your business blind and every month you have that SHIT experience of just paying the bills and extending the mortgage, and your partner's stressing out or you're stressed out, please give Mark and the team a call, and I know they'll support you in the best way they can in the whatever budget you have or don't have, and they'll help you at least take the actions to get the budget to invest in a more strategic approach. Yes?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
Cool.
so we're really happy to help. So Tanja, anybody that wants to get an idea and just pick the phone up and have a chat, very happy to do so. And then from there, whatever develops. But like you, we want to give back to people. It's not always about taking. It's about, sometimes we had a client the other day ring up and said, look, we're going to pull out of our franchise agreement with franchisors, this, that, and the other, and blah, 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 and carrying on ranting and raving. I said, but it's going to cost you so much more money to transition from being a franchisee into an independent for the short space of time that you've got left. You need to weigh those costs up. And she said, I hadn't thought of that. I said, so why don't you just sit down and with a glass of wine and work through that? And she rang me and said, well, that was great.
Well, knowledge is power. If you are a franchisee, if you don't understand the back end of your business and treat it as you are the CEO, because you are the chief executive officer or the chief energy officer of your business, you really don't have that negotiating power, because many franchisors, if you know your business, you can then effectively negotiate different terms and conditions to ride some torrential, market progress. So great. Okay, so we've unpacked the top 3 mistakes that real estate business owners are making. You've shared your top 3 and top number 1 action to take. We've told people how to reach out to you. I also want to just take this opportunity as we wrap up to personally thank you and the team at Real Estimations for investing in me, because I am riding along with 90 other real estate professionals from Australia and the UK, 500 Ks across Thailand, and some are doing 1,000 Ks across North or South Thailand to raise funds for disadvantaged kids, thanks to the great work of Steve Carroll and Peter Baines and the team at Hands Across the Water. Mark, thank you for your investment in me. I will invest a lot of time, sweat, hopefully no blood, to make a difference for those kids. I'm curious, what was it about the project that had you invest? Why did you say yes?
There's a couple of reasons why we said yes. Is because the ride that you're doing is not an easy ride. I've had friends do similar rides before. And the fact that you were prepared to step out of your comfort zone and obviously raise a lot of money for underprivileged kids in itself is just such an amazing goal, and good on you for it. You've got family, you've got a business.
Yeah.
I know what the training's like being a cyclist myself.
Yeah, you do, yeah.
The training can be arduous, but I think it's that sweat and that pain when you learning to ride, and then when you see the end result, when you raise that money and see the kids.
Yeah, can't wait.
That's a really great achievement. So it's the combination of your commitment, your effort, and your desire to help underprivileged kids. It's a pretty great thing to be doing.
Yeah, well, we're really proud to wave the Real Estimations flag. I just want to say thank you on behalf of all of those businesses you have served and those that you will no doubt continue to serve, because this is not just about a P&L sheet. This is about real people with real businesses and real lives. And what you and I are committed to is making sure that we reduce the stress, increase the clarity, elevate the skill set so you can grow a sustainable and successful real estate business to achieve your potential and create the lifestyle that you desire, much like you and your team want to do for the vendors, buyers, landlords, and tenants that you have the privilege to serve. So, as Molly Meldrum would say, do yourself a favor. Please reach out to Mark Sinclair and the team at Real Estimations by going to realestimations.com.au. That they will support you with a confidential ear, no matter who you work for or if you're an independent. They'll put you on the right path and walk you through the process for sustainable success. Mark, thank you for your time. Thank you for your support, sponsorship, and generous donation to me to help the kids. And I look forward to providing more value and more content to make successful real estate businesses in the near future. Thanks again, Mark.
Thanks, Tan. It's been great. Really appreciate it. Look forward to doing more of these in the future.
Yeah, you're welcome. Call Mark. Have a great day.